When talking about car safety, I am sure that this thought has crossed your mind, or maybe you have heard this in the past. It is even possible that the one saying it was yourself. Today cars are made of plastic. Before, they were much more robust and strong. The point is that this is true, but when we go into the statistics on deaths in car accidents, we realize that without any doubt, over the years, cars are much safer, and the number of people killed in car accidents has been drastically reduced. In today's video, we are going to explain you why, if you have an accident and you find yourself in an old car, you are going to leave the situation badly. Every time a new technology appears, it is inevitable that accidents occur, because it always takes a short time and experience to get to good safety levels. At the beginning, there is a lot to be learned and very little experience. And of course, something similar happened with cars. Years ago, there were no safety measures and there were no tests to ensure that cars worked properly, so they could drive around other cars safely. Let's do a brief review of the implementation of major security systems in automobiles. In 1968, the implementation of seatbelts became mandatory in the United States. In the 90s, the airbag became very famous, while at the same time different electronic aids and controls were also developed. For example, traction control, which detects if a wheel is skidding and avoids it by braking it more or less and also braking other wheels. All these implementations were added after studying their contribution to the reduction of fatalities in car accidents. However, if we look at the plot of the fatal accidents in cars over the years in the United States, for example, it seems that this number does not decrease significantly. How can it be? Well, because this plot does not take into account that over the years the number of drivers has increased a lot. So it is not the same to have 40,000 deaths in a year in which only 100,000 people have had a car, to have 40,000 deaths in a year in which 10 million people have been driving. And to take that factor into account, deaths per million miles driven is the variable used. So here we make focus on how much has been driven each year, and with these statistics the decline is impressive. In such complex statistics in which many variables come into play, extreme care must be taken when reading them, because, as we have said before, if we have a look to the plot of fatalities by accidents over time and we do not take into account the increase in drivers, the first thing that we may think is that cars are not safer today compared with the past, and this is totally wrong. For example, sport cars tend to have more deaths than the average if we only look at the statistics, and that could make us think that those cars are not safe. But by doing that, we are neglecting the fact that normally the driving technique of these vehicles is more reckless, and consequently your risk of accidents and therefore death will obviously increase. When the medical and engineer teams set up to improve vehicle safety years ago, they first had to investigate what causes fatal injuries in car accidents, and then they designed it based on that. In a collision, we will always have our car and another external object in place. For example, the other object could be another vehicle or something static like a wall or a street lamp. Therefore, there could be three impacts. The first of them is the one of the vehicle when colliding to this external object. The second is the one of the passengers in case of not wearing the seatbelt with the vehicle interior. In the case of wearing the seatbelt, the second impact will be stopped by the seatbelt. And the third impact is that of your organs with your own body inside yourself. The same thing that happens to you inside the car happens to all your organs inside you. In the case of a great impact velocity and therefore an overall high impact energy, the internal collision could have fatal consequences. The problem is that when a person goes inside a car, he moves at a certain speed and therefore has a kinetic energy. And when an accident occurs, the problem is that all the energy becomes zero in a matter of thousands of seconds, which implies that you will suffer a tremendous deceleration. Not counting of course that in the accident the car will tend to deform on the inside, and that will probably crush you. The best way to understand this is that every time you take the car, you reach 100 km per hour and then you brake when you reach your destination. You get out of the car and absolutely nothing will have happened to you. The difference between this loss of kinetic energy and the one suffered in an accident is that this deceleration while arriving home will be spread during many seconds and will be slow. And also some of the energy will be dissipated in heat in the tires and in the braking braking system, also friction with the air, etc. However, crashing or braking suddenly in thousands of seconds is fatal because all the energy is absorbed by your body in a very little amount of time. There are different accidents cases, but we are going to start by analyzing the two worst cases. The first is the type of accident in which a car hits another car on the front. And the second, we have the case in which a car hits head-on against a motionless wall. In fact, let me ask you, which of these two cases do you think is more deadly? Please write in the comments what do you think is worse. Fortunately, this experiment has already been done. It was done by the Mythbusters, and I personally really like how they present it. First, they collided a car against a static wall at 80 km per hour, and then they collided another at 160 km per hour. That is twice, and they saw the enormous difference in how the cars broke. By the way, in both crash tests, the car was completely the same except for the paint. After that, they asked, what will happen when two cars collide head-on against each other traveling at 80 km per hour each of them? To which of these two previous tests could be compared? 80 km per hour against the wall or 160 km per hour? I leave you to see it with your own eyes. Indeed, it looks a lot like the collision at 80 km per hour. To be clear, I failed in my prediction for something very basic. The reason that I followed is that kinetic energy has the speed squared. Therefore, if two objects collide head-on, the speeds add up, and we would then obtain 4 times the energy as if the car crashed against a wall. But this is totally wrong. What you have to add is not the speed, but the energy of one car plus the energy of the other, which, since they weigh the same and go at the same speed, is like multiplying by 2, not by 4. But since we have two cars, the energy is divided between the two cars that will deform, and in the end you get the same as if you hit a wall. If you think about it, it makes sense by Newton's third law of motion. The wall exerts a reaction equivalent to the impact of the car, while when the two collide head-on, each car exerts this force on the other, because they are theoretically the same car. But please, do not forget that this could be the case if you hit a car that was exactly the same as yours and at the same speed. If you hit a bigger car, the results will be worse than hitting a wall, while if your car is the big one, the result for you will be better than hitting a wall. Another example could be an accident in which a car hits another object sideways. This would not be so deadly, mainly because the car will not have lost all the speed when it continues moving after the impact. In fact, the typical accidents in which the car tips over is something positive in the sense that the car will lose energy when turning, instead of losing completely in the collision of the energy. But of course, when turning, you can hit your head or any body part, and that is why it's so dangerous. There are different agencies that evaluate the safety of cars in different collision situations. For example, in the United States, there is the NHTSA, which performs 4 tests: a frontal collision of two cars, a collision of one car against another on the sideways, an impact on the front side of the car, and a crash test in which the car is tipped over. All cars are subjected to these tests and conclusions are drawn. The problem is that in the frontal collision, it is assumed that the two cars are similar in weight. But if you drive a small car, in real life it is normal that you impact against another that is bigger, and therefore these tests lose all sense. Take for example what Elon Musk commented on Joe Rogan's podcast when they talk about the safety of small cars. Listen carefully because it's interesting.
Small cars are not safe.
No.
Yeah, they're not safe.
Right.
Yeah.
But what about your small car?
Model 3 is not small.
What
It's
about
medium.
the Roadster?
Yeah, the Roadster is not super safe.
So for you to see clearly why the frontal test does not make any sense in real life, I'll give you a clear example. This is the list of cars with the most deaths in the United States. The Honda Fit, the Nissan Versa and the Dodge Challenger appear on the top of the list. And if we have a look, the 3 of them are valued with a score of 5 to 5 by the NHTSA. This is because they do the test assuming that they will collide with cars in similar size, and they get results, but in the United States, large cars are very popular, so in the moment of truth, in a collision head-on, the behavior will be much worse than they claim Now, it is important to understand the danger of going at high speeds. I remind you that the energy goes with the square of the speed, increasing tremendously the energy when you increase the speed. For example, look at the effects of the impact energy when a car travels at 190 km per hour. And surely many of you who are watching this video have ever traveled at speeds close to 190 km per hour, so please just keep in mind that accident the next time. So we can say that what kills is speed. The problem that we found, or rather the automotive industry has been encountering over the years, has been how to dissipate the energy in a better way, and when dissipating it, to ensure that the deformations that occur in the inside of the car don't put in risk at the passengers. If you look at all technological innovations such as seatbelts, airbags, head restraints, all these improvements have been aimed at those 2 points. Today's cars are made of material that allow deformations in the event of an impact. This is because part of the energy carried by the vehicle is lost in the deformation of these materials inside the car components. Therefore, the typical comment that today's cars are made of plastic and therefore are not safe, it does not make any sense, because they are made like that because it reduces the overall energy of impact. Of course, something very studied is that the deformation does not occur inside the cabin where the passengers are. For example, in this video where a car from 1959 collides with one from 2009, the old car compresses and hits the driver in an extreme way, causing surely the death of the driver. However, the modern car avoids deformations that affect the driver, adding to that the effect of the airbag. We can see that the driver would certainly have not lost his life. The seatbelt is intuitive to know what it does. It prevents you from being thrown forward in the event of an extreme braking. But there is an interesting aspect about it. It also prevents from injuries on the chest. For that, it allows a small deformation when activated, so it doesn't retain the passenger suddenly, but instead it accelerates him smoother, thus reducing the force applied on the chest. Another important thing is that cars design airbags taking into account that passengers in the event of an accident will be tied with the seatbelts, and therefore each one on his seat. However, going with the seatbelt not tied up can make the airbags stop contributing to save your life and even becoming a negative factor that could help to kill you. The implementation of all these factors has allowed this decrease in deaths in car accidents. It must also be said that road safety education has drastically improved over the years. For example, this is the evolution by years of those who died in an accident caused by alcohol effects. In 1985, it was at 41%. Today, it is 28%. And here is the percentage of people who use seatbelts. This number has increased over the years drastically, from 67% in 1993 to 90% in 2017, and generally all statistics follow this trend. Looking at all the progress that has been made so far, how do you think things will change from here to the future? Well, a few months ago, as I mentioned earlier, Elon Musk went to the Joe Rogan's podcast, and he also talked about an idea they have with the Tesla cars, implementing a system that has sensors all over the seat and detects how much the passenger weighs, even how he is sitting, and with this information the car's computer will calculate at all times how the airbags should be deployed in the event of an accident. Taking these factors into account, which would not only reduce fatal accidents dramatically, but would also allow passengers to travel without a seatbelt, since the airbag would be deployed taking into account that the passenger does not carry it, and theoretically this could remain the same or even safer. Of course, it was just an idea. To be certified as safe, it would have to demonstrate its correct operation before the authorities could approve it, so let's not expect to see this in a near future. Well, with all that information, the next time you choose to go in a small car and you see that it has the highest safety score, I suppose you will not believe it is straightforward, since you will think how badly you will end in an accident against another bigger car. And the same to those who like to go fast on the road. The fact of pushing the accelerator supposes to square the speed, and therefore also the probabilities of death in an accident.